right, welcome to another issue of Talk About here on Shaw TV North Island. We've got another interesting show for you. Two people in the studio today, Catherine Temple and Jamie Turko. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Well, thanks for inviting us, John.
Thank you.
And this show is about the Campbell River. Great year for the Campbell River, and you guys have been involved in it for a long time. How long?
The first time I ever snorkeled the Campbell River, which was in 1980, and I didn't even live here. I lived in Nanaimo, and I was a diver. And they wanted to do a count in the river, and so they asked the dive club, who friends of mine were involved with, and so I tagged along. That was the first time.
Yeah. And Jamie, you've been snorkeling it since a kid here, is that?
Born and raised here in Campbell River and started snorkeling when I was 10 years old. Originally got into the river to start collecting all the fishing lures and selling them back to the fishermen.
That's a good one.
Yes.
It's hard for me to guess your age. How long has it been?
I'm 42 this year, so it's been a while.
32 years. And do the math.
Yeah.
So, did you pioneer the industry? Were you one of the first people to snorkel the river?
Not really the first
No.
ones. I want to put it back to Haig Brown. Roderick Haig Brown, I believe he was probably the original snorkeler of the river.
Oh, really?
He actually started snorkeling the river before the dam was there.
Oh, my.
And he did it to assess the environmental impact of the dam itself.
Yeah. Well, this is appropriate because as we're recording this, it was Haig Brown Day and Rivers Day just a few days ago.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Did you get up for it, or?
I was on the river that
Yeah.
day.
Can't understand why. So you're, Jamie, the proprietor of Destiny River now. Tell us about that.
Destiny River Adventures, we're Vancouver Island's premier river adventure company. We have big white water up on the Nimkish River, May, June, July. And then we swap the operations over to our raft and snorkel with the salmon on the Campbell River for end of July, August, and September.
Yeah. And I gather it was a pretty good year? How
It
good?
was a great year this year. Yes,
Why?
it was.
How?
I believe it's the amount of marketing that I've done over the years. We've had some big names here. Rick Mercer is one of them.
Yeah.
Every time it airs, my website hits go through the roof.
Yeah.
Last year I had Fish in Canada. It's Canada's #1 fishing show. Airs in 12 different countries, 8 different languages. And it aired in Uganda 3 weeks ago, and I had a whole bunch of Facebook requests for friendship from Uganda.
I don't think, how many of them will come as tourists? I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't know. And Catherine, you're Go Campbell River, the website, but you do a lot of outdoor recreation too.
Oh, absolutely. We're always climbing and searching for new adventures all over the place, which is what brought us to actually going into the canyon a couple of weeks ago to snorkel and dive the canyon to see what exactly was in there, and we were pretty impressed.
Yeah, this is the Pink Run.
Yeah, that was Pink's, and
Yeah.
they were very late and very fresh, and Jamie knows an awful lot about salmon. I mean, we've learned an awful lot over the years, but I've never seen anything like that.
What was the number? 14 million, is that right?
I was 1.4 million at one
1.4
point.
million. Oh, I was out at decimal, you know?
Yeah, and that's in the whole river, but we figured in snorkeling the canyon that there was probably 500,000 fish in that canyon. And it's not a very big canyon, so you can imagine it was a little freaky putting your face in that water and seeing that many fish in there.
Well, were the fishermen snagging them, or were they still taking a lure?
In the river itself, I would think they were, yeah.
Yeah, the fish, they do stop eating once they enter the river system. They actually lose 30% of their body weight coming in to spawn.
Yeah.
And if you look at the colors that the fishermen are using, they're all the bright fluorescent pinks, yellows, blues, greens. And basically that's threatening to the salmon. So you put that in front of them and they snap at it to get away from them.
Interesting.
Because they're protecting their salmon reds. All they're thinking about is spawning now.
Yeah. Now, is it a problem to have too many fish? Are we there yet?
Well, I think in nature it's not a problem because
No.
it's cyclical.
Yeah.
So some years you'll have too many fish and some of them won't spawn or there won't be enough room for them to spawn. And then, of course, because they're all going to lay their eggs one way or another, then the birds are well fed and everything that feeds off the eggs the bears are well fed.
I was just going to say bears too.
Oh, absolutely. I think we've got some really fat bears out there this year.
Yeah.
But I don't think that in nature there's not really too many because there'll only be a certain amount of them that'll survive.
Yeah. How many of the returnees were hatchery and how many of them were wild? I know it's you got to estimate. I'm not asking for hard numbers.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know the actual number.
Yeah.
I haven't talked with the hatchery lately.
Well,
I don't even know if they're actually at the point where they're finished with the pinks yet, so they
No.
probably don't have the final numbers in yet.
No. But I mean, I had Jim Powell of the Aqua Health Sciences Center, Aquatic Health Sciences, and I asked him the question about, farmed or ranch salmon backing out the wild. And I'm a little concerned about, when you see an anomaly like 1.4 million, it's a good anomaly in a way, but, can you have too much of a good thing?
I don't think so, because again, it's back to the whole nature cycle thing. You're going to have bad years, you're going to have good years, you're going to have standard years, but
Yeah.
I could imagine people think, oh, this is just amazing, we've never seen anything like that, and we haven't seen anything like that in the last 50 years, but that doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. That river's been there for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And if you can imagine, before the 50s, there was no dam there.
Yeah.
So it was a natural river.
Yeah.
And at that time, the indigenous peoples, they lived from that river.
Yeah.
you know.
But there's what, 5 species of salmon, so they wouldn't have lived only on pink.
No, they probably would have wanted the coho, I think,
Yeah.
more than
And then-
anything.
Yes, and the big Chinooks.
And the big
The
Chinooks.
Campbell
yeah.
is, yes, we have 5 species of Pacific salmon that do return,
Yeah.
but the Campbell's known for the 4 species.
Yeah.
The sockeye, it's not known for a big sockeye
Right.
river system.
Yeah.
They prefer a freshwater lake system above a river to rear end. With our
Yeah.
dam and our waterfall, they can't get past that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a short river naturally.
Yeah, 7-kilometer
yeah.
stretch.
Yeah.
And we have over the years seen sockeye in there,
Yes.
James? But
Yep.
certainly no numbers. We're talking maybe a dozen
Yeah.
at the very most.
Yeah. Yeah.
Overall throughout an entire
Yeah.
season.
And you
Yeah.
can really pick them out. They're the bright red ones in amongst the schools.
Yeah. Now, as we're recording this, it's the first day of coho season in the Campbell.
It is.
Guess
and
where
you
he
already
was.
limited out today?
I did. I was up before the sun was up this morning and got my spot on the river.
You have a spot?
Of course I do. I have a
And
few
it's
spots.
secret, right?
Yes. It's funny, the people on the riverbank, they see me and they kind of flock towards me because they know
You
where
know where the holes are.
I do.
Okay. So how were they? Just good size, average size?
This year, the 2 that I got this morning were big.
Huh.
The coho are nice size compared to last year and past years.
Yeah. Now, is that because of ocean conditions? It happens that there's more feed out there this season for some reason?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a whole variety of different reasons. I mean, the migration patterns of these salmon are in some cases 25, 26,000
Yeah.
miles. Or
Yeah, they go all the way up to the
25
Bering
miles.
Sea.
Yeah, it's a long ways.
Yeah.
So the conditions have to be essentially perfect for the whole route,
Yeah.
including predators. You know,
Yeah.
the big predators that are after the salmon,
The
obviously
whales.
they didn't clean out
Yeah.
what was there.
Yeah.
And each
Yeah.
species has a different migration route, so you know, each migration route is going to have a multitude of different reasons why
Yeah.
it's favorable this year over last year,
Yeah. That,
or over last year's runs.
It's an opportunity for me to jump
Yeah.
to the tourism. That goes up and down in cycles too.
It does.
So, how was it this year, from Jamie, your perspective on the business?
My perspective, it was good. It was a good year.
And from where, for who, for why?
My biggest market, I would say, would be European.
Huh.
Yeah, Dutch, Netherlands, Germany, all that. The European market is really big for me.
Do you advertise there, or is it word of mouth there? And
We have done a lot of advertising over the years, a lot of written articles, magazines and newspapers.
yeah, right. So, let's say somebody's coming from Amsterdam. I guess obviously they fly, but how do they connect with you?
It's through internet.
Yeah.
They would get onto my website and drop me an email,
Yeah.
and then we just respond back and forth from there.
So you book them for a snorkeling trip on a certain date,
Yes.
and they show up. What do you take them out at 7 a.m. or noon or both? Or
Well, what we do is we have 2 tours a day. We do a 9 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the afternoon,
Yeah.
and peak season I do a 5 o'clock in the evening.
Huh.
So 3 tours a day. We fill them as much as we can and go and enjoy what's
Yeah.
below the surface of the
Yeah.
river.
What's it like
From
when
my
you
perspective,
yeah, well, you've snorkeled the river quite a bit. What,
I think the only person I know that's done it more than me is him. And he's done it more than anybody has,
yeah,
beyond a
But-
shadow of a doubt.
but what keeps you going back? I mean, if it was me, I might do it a few times and say, okay, been there, done that.
You know, it's really funny because lots of people have asked me that because even now I do it every year, sometimes
Yeah.
more than once in a year.
Yeah,
And I think it's because it is one of the most amazing experiences you'll ever have. I mean, when we were running the tours together, people would get out of the water and they say, that was surreal. It was one of the most important things they've ever done. There's something about snorkeling that river that gives you such an incredible sense of well-being and being connected with
Yeah.
the cycle of the salmon that you never forget that.
yeah,
And I think that you actually crave it after a while,
yeah.
you know, after you've
And
done it a few
I
times.
think you've given us some video of that too. What's the origin of the video?
Oh, well, this was kind of my brainstorm saying, hey, James, let's go into the canyon and do some filming in the canyon. And we did this a couple of weeks ago. I guess it would be mid-September. Well, we know that this has been an amazing run. I mean, when we ran the snorkel tours together for almost 12 years, our biggest run was about 680,000 pinks. This year
Yeah.
they're estimating 1.4 million. So that's
Yeah.
double
Yeah,
what our biggest year was. So I had to go
Yeah.
see what it looked like.
yeah,
And so Jamie took us into the canyon because he has the key to get in. He's, you know, insured and
Oh,
everything
yeah.
else in the rafts. And we had one fellow dove to the bottom of the canyon and rested on the bottom and filmed up. And then we had the booms and we had snorkelers in the water filming from the top.
Hmm.
And it was unbelievable. I've
Yeah.
never seen anything like that. I
Yeah.
mean, the quality of the footage is really good, but the experience was really something.
yeah. Do you bump into the fish or do they bump into you?
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah.
Not ever.
No, they basically go around you.
Yeah.
Huh.
Just like a curtain, they just separate and then you go past and they come back in.
Yeah. And we've had experiences before we're in the lower end of the river where we've seen schools of Chinook that are well over 60 pounds. And there's 18 or 19 of these fish. And when I first saw that one school, nobody believed that it was there until 3 weeks later when the hatchery phoned and said, hey, we got your salmon you were talking about. That was amazing. It was
Yeah.
amazing. These things were so big. They scared the heck out of me. And they were so fast. It was like they came at me and then just went split
Wow.
on either side of me.
Huh.
But if you can imagine, you're also seeing them very large because
Yeah.
you're in the water and it's magnified.
What do you think the fish think with these strange creatures floating at them? with-
Predator.
Predator or a log, or
log.
we're not chasing them, so
Yeah.
they just separate, they go around us and
Yeah.
come right back to where they were.
Yeah,
And because the best thing you can do when you're snorkeling the river is to relax,
uh-huh,
then you're pretty inert. Like you're not being aggressive towards them. They do part. In the
Yeah.
canyon, they do stay underneath you because you've got some depth. But
Yeah.
generally in the river itself,
Yeah.
they just move away.
Dumb
calming.
question, do people use wetsuits or do they just go bathing suit?
Well, the locals, yes, a lot of the locals just use their bathing suits. But for my clients and other people, we use a wetsuit.
Yeah,
River temperatures run in between about 11 Celsius to 14 Celsius.
that's a little
depending
cold,
on-
isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
it can
cold.
be. So with the
Yeah.
wetsuits, they act as a thermal layer.
Yeah,
You get the layer of water between your
Yeah.
body and the suit, and that's what keeps you
Yeah.
warm. So a snug suit, minimal water flow. A little
Yeah.
bit bigger of a suit, you have more water flow, and you do get cold.
And they also
Yeah.
provide a certain amount of flotation, the suits do.
They do.
yeah. Do you have lots of them?
I have everything from triple extra small to quadruple extra large. I have a
Yes,
suit
you'd
that'll
fit.
I have a suit that'll fit 2 of you in it.
Yeah, well, maybe someday.
Does that make you feel good?
That was one of those things that I never wanted to say no to somebody. So I found extra large suits that
Yeah.
I've had. Last year we had some of the BC Line football guys up here,
Oh, really?
7'2", 310 pounds,
Wow.
and not a problem. Like I said,
Wow.
I don't want to say no. I think everybody should experience this.
I'm
Yeah.
envisioning these guys getting into the suit. Wow.
We'll get back to the fish and the tai issue in a minute, but I wanted to talk about the river cleanup because I guess this was a shoreline cleanup that they were doing a few days ago. But what's it like in the river for garbage? Is it getting worse, or has it always been that way?
It's always been that way. Where you find a bridge, you'll find garbage.
Yeah.
I have taken I don't know how many bicycles out of there. Shopping
Couches.
carts, couches.
Phone booths.
My latest was a safe door with crowbar marks. I've taken a couple phone booths out of there.
Yeah.
You name it. I've even hunted for a season for people's ID. Where you find a bridge, you'll find garbage.
Phones. Yeah, the big one is phones these days.
Weird.
So, and of course, the fishing line and the fishing lures is absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a couple trees that are in the bottom of the river that look like a Christmas tree. There's so many fishing lures on them, and those are for all the local kids to go and dive for.
Yeah. You just pick the good ones.
I pick all the good ones.
Yeah.
We've
I haven't
even
bought a
we've
lure.
even seen Chinook with spoons out of their mouths. Like I'm talking 40, 50 pounders with
Yeah.
spoons out of their mouths. So they got away.
Yeah. But I guess they could still spawn.
Yes.
Oh
they
yeah.
will.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
So every year I do, personally myself, I do main river cleanup of the pools that we snorkel and certain stretches
Yeah.
where lots of public are going to be, making sure it's safe.
Yeah.
We have lots of trees that do fall in the river system. I do have agreements with other agencies to make sure that the river is safe.
Yeah.
And if I find something that is unsafe, I contact the agencies and let them know, and
Yeah.
they give me permission to remove or adjust
Yeah.
so that.
I guess it helps when you have a history that, they know you're a good guy.
Yes.
Yeah. When does the snorkeling season open, and when does it close?
This year, I started seeing a good number of pinks in the river on July 8th.
Okay.
So I usually get into the river beginning of July, start
Yeah.
snorkeling the main pools. And when I start seeing one or two, I don't start the tour. I
Yeah.
want to see a good school. I do feel guilty for
Yeah.
taking people out and showing them one or two salmon.
Well, maybe I'm a dumb guy, but that hadn't occurred to me. I thought that snorkeling the river might be interesting even without fish.
It is.
Oh
It is.
yeah.
We
Jane,
do
Jane
have.
and I have snorkeled that river with the gates wide open on the
Yeah.
outfall, and let me tell
Oh.
you, that's fun.
Yeah.
It's
Sure.
it's a little dangerous. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody, but
It's a very unique system. It allows you to. It gives you everything from deep pools to the shallows,
Yeah.
and there is a main channel.
Do you go all the way down to Painters, or do you come out somewhere short of that?
For ourselves, we start right up the generating station, and
Yeah.
then we use the river raft to move the 4-kilometer stretch right down to Tai Spit.
Wow.
but to actually snorkel the river, most people go in at the logging bridge and come out at Maple Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the Tyee issue. It's such an anomaly. We've had the biggest, best year ever for pink, but as Jeremy Maynard's column here says, record low Tyee club numbers.
Yeah, I've been out in the
Anything-
Tyee club or in the Tyee pool 4 times this year, and I never even saw a fish get caught. I never
Yeah.
saw anybody hit a fish. We
Yeah.
did see them rolling, but that was pretty much
Yeah.
about it.
But Jamie, you saw them in the river.
I have been seeing, yes, a lot of them in the river system. So everybody's asking me, why are they not holding out front? I really don't know. I do have a thought that with the buildings that we do, one of them is Discovery Marina. We all of a sudden put rocks and built this beautiful marina to take boats in, and it's changing the currents out front. So if you look at what was down in front of Dolphins Resort many years ago was Frenchman's Pool. With a lot of the building construction and we're filling in, there's different currents out front.
So the
So
pool's full.
the Frenchman's Pool is no longer there.
It's no longer.
And my own thoughts is this is what's happening to the Tyee pool. Of course, yes, the salmon do hold out in front of the main river system, but they're holding in a different area. They may not be holding right
Where they used to.
where they used to, because things are filling in, currents are changing.
Huh.
You know, another thing that I thought too was by beginning of September, usually the pinks are done. They're pretty much, you'll see loads of them on the side of the river dying. What we saw was fresh fish. They hadn't spawned. They weren't even
Yeah.
close to being spawned yet. And they were waiting for the rain. Now it's possible that nature is protecting herself and the Chinooks just don't come near the river until it's time. because there's no way they could have gotten in the Campbell. I mean, it's the competition, because you get the pinks first, then you get the coho, then you get the Chinook, and then you get the chum. And they all seem to be timed. And there's a reason that they are the size they are and the aggressiveness that they are. And the pinks are non-aggressive completely, whereas the chums who are competing with the Chinook are extremely aggressive fish. So I think that nature's just timing it all. And it's likely that the Chinooks are there now, instead of them having been there a couple of weeks ago.
There's lunar cycles too, and it could be, you know, like one September it might be an early full moon, and then another one it's not till October. I don't know.
That's right.
Is there anything like that this year?
Yeah, I don't really know about the lunar moons and how they affect it, but I think that again it's right back to that whole thing about nature's balance and the fact that it there is such a delicate balance, and there's so many components involved in it that it would be very difficult for us humans to sit down and do an algorithm to say, okay, this is what's going to happen this year, because we've been wrong so often.
On the weekend, I took in the last Pierce Street Farmers Market, and I encountered the fellow there who's, I think his name was George, but anyway, he makes fishing lures, and quite an interesting story in his own right. But he mentioned about the pressure factor on salmon. You know, like if it's a high pressure, nice sunny day, the fish don't like it because it adds to the pressure they're on. But on a low pressure day, a rainy day, the salmon bite more often.
Isn't that interesting?
Have you heard that?
I have, yes. And after a storm, fishing is always better after a storm because it stirs up the water, it stirs up the fish, gets them active again.
Yeah.
And that would be a releasing of the pressure, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So they come closer to the surface, I guess, or something. I don't know.
It's almost like the more we know, the more we realize how little we know.
Yeah.
I mean, salmon are an amazing species.
Yeah.
And they've evolved also. I mean, I remember reading years ago that, you know, 10,000 years ago, the salmon that went up the Campbell River were 4 or 5 times the size as what they are now. Can you imagine a 200-pound Chinook? I mean, historically, this is what they believe where it came from. Oh my God, it'd be almost as big as you.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's scary.
Yeah, okay. Now, Pink Coho Tai tourism. Oh yeah, this tourism event that's coming in 2015. Is this a big deal? We'll just get this clipping here. Tourism Vancouver Island Annual Conference and General Meeting at Painters Lodge in September 2015. 150 delegates. Is that kind of routine, a feather in our cap, or?
Well, it's good on Teresa for applying for it, because I know that she had done that quite a while ago. It would have been almost a year ago, I think, that she actually put the application in for it.
Yeah.
It's a very good thing for Campbell River. It certainly doesn't hurt us at all. I don't know in terms of how much direct impact it would have, but this basically is Tourism Vancouver Island's annual general meeting. I can't say that. And one of the things about it is that tourism operators from all over the island will come here, and 150 of them. These are keynote people, which certainly doesn't hurt us because it just raises the profile of Campbell River.
And Jamie, this would be an opportunity for you to just spread the word a bit more about Destiny River.
Yes. Mainly the snorkel with the salmon. This is the highlight of Campbell River, I believe, and of course of my business.
Right. And Catherine, your website, Go Campbell River, have you noticed any activity related to tourism and salmon?
Oh my God, yes.
How so?
Our numbers are way up. I mean, our numbers overall.
Not just your general hits, but related
yeah, well,
to
generally we're up about 44%, but interestingly, I sat down the other day to figure out the hotels, motels, the tours, the fishing. Our hotels and motels hits were up 75% this year. The fishing was up almost 90%. Dining was up 90%. So
the hits.
Yeah, visits for people looking for that kind of product and services. So, you know, we're going up all the way around because, of course, our rankings in Google are going up higher, but those are substantial increases. I mean, we're looking at almost 14,000 people that were looking for a place to stay this year. Wow. That's a lot of people, and that's good for the community. That's good for everybody.
Yeah.
So okay, we're seeing some upward trends for sure.
2 other things: the suspension bridge and the trail. That's coming along pretty good, I guess. That's going to add to the excitement.
Yeah, I actually expected them to be finished by now, but they're obviously not done. But
Yeah.
we just got the pictures from the Rotary Club.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, these are always mired in, oh my God, we got to do this because they're inventing a wheel, you know. And I'm really glad to see it happening because it's going to give you a completely different perspective on the actual
On the
falls and the
outfalls,
canyon
yeah, yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
And
I
that
think it's-
canyon is so beautiful.
You know, in North Vancouver, the Capilano Suspension Bridge is a huge, stable, powerful tourist attraction.
Yes.
And I'm thinking this is going to be like that.
It's also an attraction for filming.
Yeah.
I've actually seen that suspension bridge, I think now in about 4 productions, one just being a couple of days ago. It was a Hallmark production, and they
Yeah.
had the Capilano suspension bridge in there. And I
Yeah.
thought, oh, there's another angle we never thought of.
Okay.
Yeah.
And time is just a little tight. Jamie, you want to talk about search and rescue for a moment?
Yeah, I'm a member of Campbell River Search and Rescue for the last 18 years, and we're going to be we're looking for new recruits.
Uh-huh.
We'd like to keep our membership at over 45 people because we do have the second largest territory for calls in the province.
Yeah.
So
Where do people go to find out?
on Thursday, October 16th at 7:30 at our Campbell River Search and Rescue Building, 261 Larwood Road, and behind the number 2 Fire Hall, we'll be having an open house.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you both for coming in. Maybe we'll do this again next year at this time.
Yeah, maybe we'll be talking about how many Chinooks were in the river last year.
Yes, but it's
Next
good
year.
to know they're there, even if the Tyee isn't catching them. That's good news. So, thank you
you.
very much.
Thanks, John.
And now, I have a little update. Recently, we had Brenda Harris and Cindy McLean on about the kidney walk, and I'm pleased to report it was a great success. They had 65 walkers, I guess that's a better way to pronounce it, 20 volunteers. They raised $9,300, which is pretty good for the first year. They had 4 sign-ups for kidney donations. And sadly, Cindy McLean has not found a kidney donor yet, but we raised the profile, and it was a pretty good day. The people who walked had good weather. A few politicians turned out. I can't understand why with the election on November 15th, but I think it's a good cause, and they were there for a good reason too. So congratulations to everybody on the kidney walk. So there's another edition of Talk About here on Shaw TV North Island, and we thank you for watching. We thank the volunteers, Laura especially, and we thank Shaw TV North Island as well for putting on Talk About. So tell a friend. We're available on YouTube. Shaw TV North Island has a YouTube channel, and also my local website, www.crnv.com, has a listing of all of the shows we've done with links to them as well. So thanks for watching. Thanks again, you guys, and we'll see you soon.